tuning into my video today. I hope you guys are ready for a really interesting story. Today's video is about the grave in Salt Lake City that has Killed by the Beast 666. And when I heard about it, I was so stoked to hear that it was in Salt Lake City because I used to live in Utah. That's where I have grown up. So I had to go and see the grave for myself. And when I saw it, I was so excited to actually see it in person. It was so hard to find it though, because there's nothing really special about the grave. It's just a red flat tombstone. I'm going to insert the footage here. Okay, after a lot of searching, we finally found the grave. And so here it is right here. We put some flowers and stuff on it, and it is really here, and it says victim of the beast 666. So it is a legit gravestone here. So creepy. So I actually found out after I left the grave that you are supposed to leave a little gift on the grave, otherwise something very malicious and evil will follow you home. So I was very, very scared after I left, and my cousin messaged me and let me know that I should have left something there. So I actually was debating going back and leaving something on the grave, but when I looked into the history behind the tombstone, I wasn't as concerned anymore, and we'll get into that later. But first I want to go over some of our theories as to why the tombstone has Killed by the Beast 666 on it. So the legend behind why the tombstone says Killed by the Beast 666 is that Lilly herself was killed by the devil. And that is why everyone is so scared of the tombstone, because it says Killed by the Beast 666, so the devil must be connected to Lilly's body. Thus why you should leave a little gift when visiting her grave, otherwise something very evil and demonic will follow you home. Hearing these things, it makes you really scared to go and visit the grave because there's something evil attached to it, and nobody wants that to follow them home. But I did a little research into Lilly's life, and I'm very confused as to why her tombstone would say what it does, because it just doesn't make sense. Lilly had a very normal life. She was actually born in Ontario, Canada on June 4th in 1880. Her family migrated to Michigan shortly after the twins were born. And we don't have too much backstory on the family, but we do know that Ethel was put into an asylum and she remained there until she passed away at 36 years old. 2 years later, Lilly was married to her first husband. Lilly's first husband passed away shortly after they were married, and then she did marry again and was married for 17 years, but then he too passed away. Lilly was married to her third husband, Elmer, until the time that she passed away, and Elmer's actually the one who's responsible for picking the phrase that was on her tombstone. Now, through my research, I actually did discover that Elmer just had a lot of trouble with the law. He actually went to 3 separate prisons, but he remained in the Utah prison in Sugar House. He was there for 10 years, and that's the longest prison time he ever served. So it is believed that he just really didn't like the Utah justice system, and for some reason he was blaming them for his wife's death, and that's who he referred to as the beast. Not the actual demonic, creepy, scary beast, just Utah government was a beast. Unfortunately, Lilly has to live with that on her grave for the rest of her life instead of her being known for who she was. She was a very normal woman, and she lived a typical life. There was nothing extreme or extravagant that made us think that she actually did anything creepy or demonic. So Elmer's kind of the reason that everyone is flocking to her tombstone and reading it. There's really no explanation for why this is on her tombstone. These are just theories, these are just guesses. We don't for sure know, but the most likely is just Elmer's hate for Utah. Now, my experience going to the grave, it was eerie seeing it just because I hadn't done my research yet. I didn't know Lilly's story. I thought that there was something extremely terrifying, like an exorcism or something like that involved in why that was written on her tombstone. So I went there being very cautious. I was very you know, respectful as much as I could be. I mean, I always am when I go to graves and graveyards, but I was very, very cautious just because I didn't know if there was something attached to this tombstone that was gonna follow me home. I've already had enough dark experiences in my life that I didn't need something else attaching itself to me. And so when my cousin messaged me and let me know that I needed to leave a gift behind, I did question. I noticed stuff left behind on her tombstone, but I didn't know that you were supposed to leave a gift to prevent something from following you home. So I was terrified. But then once I did my research, I realized there's nothing scary about Lily's grave at all. It's all just legends and stories, and it's fun around this time to scare each other and scare others. And I would say go and visit the grave if you can. It's definitely a fun experience, and I am so glad I got to see it, but I'm also even more glad that I got to read Lily's life, because now I know who she really was, and I'm not just going to assume there's something scary behind Lily Edith Grey. I know who Lily Edith Grey was.